Hi, I'm Jill Chivers.
And I'm Imogen Lamport, and we're from 16 Style Types. We've been asked a question about who are the mood dressers. Is it a feeling function or not? Because often when people say, well, I dress with my mood, they are talking about, they talk about it with feeling words.
Yes, and we've had a number of people on our Facebook group asking this question, who are the mood dressers? And assuming, there seems to be an assumption that it's got to do with feeling. And what we found in our research is it wasn't about feeling, that if you have a preference for feeling, so if F appears in your 4-letter type code, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be a mood dresser. What we discovered was that it actually has to do with intuition. So if you have N in your 4-letter type code, then you're more likely to be a mood dresser. And maybe we should talk about what we mean. What does mood dressing look like? If we were looking at it, what would mood dressing look like? And as a mood dresser, perhaps you could tell us what it's like for you.
So for me, it's if I'm, deciding to put something on. Now, sometimes I'll decide the night before. I'll think I've got this thing on tomorrow, and I'll think, what will I wear? And all sorts of things will go through my head. What's appropriate? Who am I seeing? I make all sorts of decisions.
Yeah.
And I might pull something out, and then the next morning I just don't feel like that.
Yeah.
And so don't feel like it anymore. It just doesn't feel right. And
I'm laughing in a very respectful way. It's every time I hear it, it still catches me by surprise.
and then I can spend ages thinking about what will feel right. And it's almost like until I find I settle on the right outfit, my intuition can't be free. Like my mind won't work. I'll be too much in my outfit. I'll be noticing stuff about it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Rather than letting me get on with my day.
And forget about what you're wearing.
And then forget about what I'm wearing.
Right.
If it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it comes in for me. And this is why, we can say it doesn't feel right. But it's actually less about the feeling function.
Yeah.
And it's more about the intuition function. And for me, as a dominant intuitive, I know that if I don't have space, there's an element, I have to have space around clarity in my head.
Right.
For my intuition to work optimally.
Yeah.
To be able to get into the zone, to get into flow, to be making, good and healthy decisions, all those things.
So if the clothing isn't right, it takes up space that needs to be freed?
Yes.
Right.
Takes up space. And maybe it gets me into my extroverted sensing, which is my inferior function. So, and I don't know, maybe it's some sort of play there.
Yeah.
That's kind of going on, that's something dragging me back, that's distracting.
Yeah, and taking up this valuable space. Yeah.
And I see that space in my head for me to, function really well each day.
Yes.
There is that, like sometimes when there's a lot going on, I'm under stress, I don't function terribly well because I don't have that mental freedom.
And if you're dressed in a way that doesn't provide that space, it's contributing to the stress?
It is. And I think too that there's an element, particularly with my type, that I have these visions.
Right.
It's kind of a vision of what I want.
Yes.
And so sometimes, then the physical act of putting them on, I go, no, it's not what I imagined. It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be physically feeling not right, but often I think more often than not, it's actually about that it's not fulfilling that vision. So whatever is that vision in my head, which can sometimes feel a little smoky, it's not particularly clear.
Right. Yeah.
And so then you put it on and you're going, no, in reality, this just doesn't work how I'd kind of imagined it would.
And the other type which has this very clear vision of the perfect outfit is INFJ, same dominant function, introverted intuition, dominant perceiving type. And they also talk about this vision that they have, and then there's a matching process that goes on between this vision and reality. And sometimes reality just is not capable of matching that vision, and that can be frustrating, whether or not that's shopping or packing or getting ready for the day or whatever it is. But that's the matching that's going on.
Yes. So I think too that, so if intuition, I think it's definitely more an intuition, and it may be possibly more an NJ rather than an NP. But certainly some of the NPs have said, well, I mood dress. And interesting, I have a friend who's an SP.
Yeah.
And she also talks about mood dressing. So there's got to be something there as well.
Yeah.
And maybe it's about that kind of you put something on and you're going, no, it's not the right contingency. Like there's something where it's that instantaneous thing that can happen with an SP, where it's the, I've got to be ready for action, and maybe what I thought yesterday isn't what today is right for today.
And that's a very good point, because this is why behaviour can lead you astray if you're trying to type from afar and imagine what someone's type is, just observing their behaviour. Because you can have two people who are type opposite engage in behaviour that looks similar, but what's motivating it is something quite different, and only the person involved can discover, or through inquiry tell you what that thing is. But for me, when thinking about this, because I am not a mood dresser, but I have a feeling function as my dominant function, is because intuition is an information gathering function. That is what sensing and intuition, they're the dichotomy. And intuition is about gathering data.
Yes.
Feeling, along with thinking, is a deciding function. And so they perform two very different roles for us. So if we are in that space of possibilities and options, and I'm gathering data and I haven't yet dropped anchor on one of those, and you're a dominant intuitive, then I can see how this whole floor drobing thing happens with options, and it's sort of you're rotating through them almost like a Rolodex to try and get the right one.
Yeah, the one that just feels right for the day, that's going to do all the things I want it to do.
Yeah.
But then also give me that freedom, that mental freedom.
Yeah.
So we'd love to know what your thoughts are on whether, what your type is, and whether or not you kind of mood dress in a, something that might have thought, could have been right the day before, isn't today.
Yeah.
I've certainly noticed it's changed over my life, because certainly when I worked in a corporate environment, I would always get my outfit out the night before, and rarely would I change.
Right.
But it could be because the structure around what I was doing was much more limited.
Yes, that's exactly right. You're not going to be, a pirate one day and a princess the next.
Yeah. So there was kind of much more of that, versus now my life is, it hasn't got that same structure.
Well, you're living an entrepreneurial work life that has a lot more creativity in it. And I almost never change what I'm wearing on the day of, even if it's just sort of a regular working from home day, or I'm slipping down to do some errands. Once I decide, I stick to that. And there's a stability in that for me is really, really important. I mean, I have been known for even a practical thing like the weather to sort of argue with my outfit. Like, surely you can still work even though it's thundering outside, and,
this is really short and like it's very open.
And it's like a concession to change the shoes I was going. I mean, honestly, it's almost ludicrous when you think about it. But that's how important, that I've made a decision, and I'm sort of going to stick with that plan. And even though my process could have taken several days to get there, once the decision has been made, I kind of want to stick to it.
And it's interesting because you say that, because I have a friend who's an ENTJ, and she very much, because we've talked about this a bit.
Right.
So she has the same introverted intuition function, but it's not her dominant function.
Yeah.
And she will say, like, particularly travelling, when she'll go, no, I'll have packed a capsule and I'll wear exactly what I said I was going to wear every day. And that could be a dominant judging function.
Yeah,
too.
she's decided. The decision has been made. All that is left is execution.
Versus as a dominant, perceptive function, that even though I have a J, it's not as kind of, pushy in that way.
Yeah. And I think this is where type offers such a wonderful opportunity for richness and complexity. And the four letters can seem relatively simple, and in a way they are. They offer a key into clarity that very few other concepts and theories do. That said, it's a lifelong learning process. And we have learned so much about style and type through this process. And we would really love to know, so tell us your style type, and then tell us about your experience with mood dressing. Do you do it? Do you not do it? And if you do, tell us why. Give us pull the curtain back a little bit, because we're really interested to know about your experiences with mood dressing.